As Californians start receiving their ballots and voting, we've got the latest polling numbers on the statewide propositions, and there's a lot at stake. They want to gut Prop 13, raise taxes. They want to prevent police from stopping a crime wave. Coming up, I'll tell you what the polling numbers show are the closest races for the statewide propositions in 2024 in California. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and in this November's election in California, there are a number of vitally important statewide propositions that we need to defeat and that we need to pass. We now have the latest polling on those ballot propositions, and there's some good news, but there's also some very bad news. Now, do not get freaked out by the bad news because this poll, it was based on the false and misleading ballot titles that the politicians put on these statewide initiatives. And you do know that when politicians want something to fail, they put a bad title on the ballot. When they want something to succeed, they put a good title for them, a misleading title on the ballot to con voters into doing what they want them to do. That's where Reform California's plain English voter guide comes in. And it's so crucial in this election. When I show you the polling numbers, you'll understand why. Our starting point is not so good in some of these measures. But once voters know what they're voting on by understanding the plain English meaning of each of these initiatives, what they really do, they side with us. And that's why before I get into the polling numbers, I am going to implore you, I'm going to beg you to do two things. Help us get the Reform California plain English voter guide out to all voters statewide so they know what these statewide propositions actually do. How do you get the voter guide? I'm glad you asked. Go to reformcalifornia.org, click under voter help, and then voter guides. Or you can go directly to the voter guides page by going to electionguidecalifornia.org. Electionguidecalifornia.org. When you do that, you'll find we have a statewide guide that covers all the statewide propositions and all the legislative races throughout California. Or we do have a number of regional voter guides that get all the way down to local ballot measures and your local races like school board, judge, city, and county races. So select the guide that applies to you, but share the entire page with your friends statewide. Text it, email it, post it. We need your help to create a viral movement here. Plus, we are doing mailers to try to get these voter guides into the hands of voters, particularly as ballots arrive. We can't do that without being able to pay for the postage and the printing. So please chip in a contribution online at the website, reformcalifornia.org. All right, so let's talk about what's on the ballot and what the polling shows. There are a number of initiatives that are bad and only two that are good that warrant a yes vote. I'll tell you which two warrant the yes vote, and all the others you should be voting no on. But the Public Policy Institute of California just got out of the field with a statewide survey where they asked about a number of races, the presidential race, the Senate race, but more importantly, the ballot propositions. And while they're somewhat of a center-left group, their polling is typically pretty spot on. So let's go down to those ballot measures. I'm not going to get into the Senate race or the presidential race. We can talk about that later. State propositions. There are 10 initiatives on the ballot. 5 of them were put on by initiative signatures and 5 by the politicians. Although the politicians like a lot of the initiatives that were put on the ballot by citizens because, well, sometimes they let the citizens pretend like it's their idea. The question of what's more important to you. 26% of voters say that Prop 36 is their top priority. All the other propositions pale in comparison. So let's start out with the first ballot on the number on the ballot is Prop 2. Authorizes bonds for public school and community college facilities. Legislative statute. Authorizes $10 billion in bonds, yada, yada, yada. Now, this is what you actually see on your ballot, okay? Now, we believe our plain English voter guide will move the numbers when we actually explain what these things actually are. So let me compare what they say on their voter guide or what's on your ballot with what actually our plain English voter guide is. For Prop 2, they say authorizes bonds for public school and community college facilities. We say $10 billion in more state debt for unspecified expenditures in school districts, funds to be awarded without fair and open competition. So our plain English voter guide cuts to the chase and lets them know what the real agenda is if this is passed versus what they see on the ballot. So if you see our plain English voter guide, the numbers are going to change. But here's what the numbers are with their misleading title. 54% yes, 44% no, 2% don't know. Those numbers are not good enough for the Democrats because they always say if that's what you are at in a phone poll where the voter doesn't really have the ability to stop and go to the internet and do some research, because a lot of voters do their research to their credit. And a lot of voters come and find our ballot measure guide, the plain English voter guide, which is our most important weapon, as I keep telling you. Get them the plain English and they vote our way. Those numbers, while concerning right now, it's a fight we can win. I believe we can stop Prop 2. Now, the next proposition, Prop 3, gay marriage. Why is this even on the ballot? It's already settled law constitutionally. Voters in California, 68%, are voting yes. Prop 4 is another deceptive bond. They say authorized bonds for safe drinking water, wildfire protection, protecting communities, saving the kittens and the puppies. So that's their misleading title, 65% yes. Now that's concerning me. This one's going to be hard to defeat. I still think we can. Because if you go to plain English, the Prop 4 initiative, our description is very simple. $10 billion in more state debt for unspecified climate change projects. A lot of people do not want to go into debt for climate change projects that are unspecified. Again, this one will be hard for us to beat, but I still think we have a fair shot. Prop 5, this is the one that guts Prop 13 by lowering the threshold for approving tax increases from 2/3 to just 55%. It makes it easier to raise your taxes. We are vehemently opposed to it as a result. This is our top priority, aside from Prop 36. Passing Prop 36 is defeating Prop 5 to save Prop 13. Look at those numbers. 49% yes, 50% no. And these are very much in line with the numbers that we've done at Reform California, our own polling internally. Again, if you go to our plain English voter guide, our description of Prop 5 is very simple. Guts Prop 13, it makes it easier to raise taxes by lowering the vote required on ad valorem taxes from 2/3 to 55%. Notice the difference between our plain English description and their description. Allows bonds for affordable housing and infrastructure. They mentioned 55% voter approval, but it sounds like that means that it's higher threshold, making it harder. No, they don't tell the voters the truth that it's about tax increases relating to those bonds, lowering the threshold from 2/3 to 55%, making it easier. And so this 49-50 split, I'm not terribly concerned. We have work to do, no doubt, but we can beat it. We can save Prop 13. The next initiative eliminates the constitutional provision allowing involuntary servitude for incarcerated persons. Oh, come on. You know what this thing actually does? Prop 6. Let me read you the plain English description. Removes the requirements that criminals in prison have to do work details. Allows prisoners to unionize and demand pay hikes from taxpayers. Ooh, that's what it is? People will vote no. Right now, they're not terribly excited about it. 46% yes, 50% no. We got to get the word out and defeat it. Next one, Prop 32 is a minimum wage increase. 50% yes, 49% no. This would only increase inflation. We believe we can beat this. Right now, it's on that bubble. Very tight. Next one, Prop 33 is rent control. 50%, 51% yes, 46% no. We believe we can beat this one too. Again, our plain English voter guide simplifies what they're saying here. The politicians weren't terribly bad on Prop 32 and Prop 33. It's still biased, but it's not biased enough that they don't even know what the hell they're voting on. But we make it much clearer what the impact would be of the rent control measures. Prop 34 restricts spending of prescription drug revenues by certain healthcare providers. Whoa. The real plain English title is Prop 34. Campaign finance reform, preventing use of taxpayer money in politics by left-wing organizations. That's what this is? Yep. And so even with the misleading ballot title, it's not doing very well. or because we're a yes vote on this, 53% are yes, 43% are no. Next one is Prop 35. It's a Medi-Cal tax, but they don't say it's a Medi-Cal tax. We tell people it's a Medi-Cal tax in our plain English voter guide, but they say it's provides permanent funding for Medi-Cal healthcare services. 63% yes. This one's going to be hard to defeat, but we want to make sure people know it's a tax because they're starting at 63%. That's kind of hard. Prop 36 allows felony charges and increases sentences for certain drug and theft crimes. Our plain English description of this is much better than that. Our plain English description is Prop 36. Restores ability of police and prosecutors to arrest and punish criminals to combat the crime wave. Pretty simple, right? And so even with the misleading title, 71% are voting yes, 26% voting no. We got a comfortable lead, but do not take that for granted. A lot of liberal, coddle the criminal billionaires are trying to put money in against us. So those are the ballot propositions. Two of them were yes on, Prop 34 and 36. The rest are across the board no. These polling numbers should alarm you, but not make you despondent or depressed. We can beat these ballot measures with the plain English voter guide, which is why I am urging you, get the plain English voter guide and share it with all your friends and family, plus your neighbors. Check out our local guides because we disclose all the local tax increases that are hidden on your ballot. And please do remember that we can't do any of this work without contributions from grassroots supporters like you. So we have a lot of work cut out. We've got these polling numbers that should be concerning us and motivating us, but not defeating us because we are in a good position to actually achieve a pretty good outcome on each of these ballot propositions. Join the fight. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.